Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Matt LaFleur yesterday. What up, Henry? How you doing, man? Henry tuning in to the program, youngster Henry. Good morning, sir. Shout out to Henry, young listener out there. Big thanks for checking it out, man. Packers-wise, though, Matt LaFleur yesterday talking with the media and kind of giving a little bit of an update, I guess, on some of the injuries and such. So some of the comments from him, first of all, Zach Tom did not suffer a setback, he said. Essentially, just realized couldn't go after just one play, which is disappointing. You know, that not to say it would have made a difference having a backup elevated for the game or such, and if he would have been not playing, but I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse, I guess, at that point in time. But saying he didn't suffer a setback, which is good news. I don't think he's going to play, but I didn't think he was going to play or give it a go against Cleveland. But with the bye week coming up afterwards, I'd be kind of surprised if they throw him out there, maybe give him a little bit of extra rest and such. But other injury notes, Javon Bullard is in concussion protocol. I said Devontae Wyatt's going to be day-to-day with his knee injury and such. So other comments from Matt LaFleur. This one made me scratch my head just a little bit, but he said, quote, and this was from Ryan Wood, "I knew that the D-line was pretty good. I probably underestimated them to some level, like the other guys not named Myles Garrett." Also went on to say that they will revisit what the offensive line is being asked to do in some cases. And in one part, he later on said that maybe they're asking too much of Jordan Morgan, you know, going all across the offensive line and asking him to do too much in his second year, and maybe needs to focus on, either at a tackle or at a guard position. Kind of threw that out there. You know, when it comes to the offensive line, and for me, for the offensive line, I think, you know, for all of us Packers fans, we've all done it. National peeps have done it. We have been so excited, so pumped up about the defensive front. Let's not forget, though, just how important and how crucial the offensive line is going to be for this team to win a championship. The offensive line play, the health of the offensive line, can make or break, can ruin a season. I mean, look at the first game, for example, against the Lions. And I get it. It's the first game, maybe a little bit of getting adjustment from the Lions coordinators and such. But, I mean, look at the first game. Jordan Love didn't get sacked once. 2 quarterback hits. You look at the Lions last night, they sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. 7 times. They didn't sack Jordan Love once. Offensive line was fully healthy in that game, outside towards the end. But they began the game healthy. And we have seen now what a banged-up offensive line how much that can affect what the offense wants to do. And I think if the Packers want to be that contending team, they want to win that Super Bowl, they want to win that championship, a lot is going to be determined on the health and the play of this offensive line going forward. It is crucial. It is crucial for this offensive line to improve its play and to get back to being healthy so it doesn't derail the season. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in, so I don't want to push the panic button. I don't want to, sound the alarms, DEFCON 5, whatever the highest level is. But they have got to figure out the offensive line depth-wise and get these guys in a position to succeed, get these guys playing better. You know, the other head-scratching comment from Matt LaFleur for me yesterday was when he was talking about the false starts and some of the penalties. Quote, "I've seen it. It's been happening more than we'd like. You see it in practice. It's not hard to expect it in a game. We've got to dial in better." So this is something that is happening in practice. And it's transitioning to the field in games that matter. That's a problem, and I'm probably underscoring it a bit. That is a big issue. Why is this happening in practice? What is the problem here that we're having so many issues with false starts on the offensive line? They got to figure that thing out, and they got to fix it ASAP. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about the stupid, ridiculous penalties that are stalling drives, making it harder on the offense, making it harder on themselves. These false starts are so annoying. There's certain penalties where it's like, okay, whatever, yeah, they stink, but it's like one of them is maybe a holding one on an offensive lineman when they can't see that the quarterback stepped up, or the illegal man downfield because a play is broken up or something like that. But false starts, that's unacceptable. But the offensive line, they have got to get this thing figured out. They have just got to get healthy. I don't want the offensive line to be the unit that derails this season. When they are healthy, I feel confident. I feel good about this group. But right now they're not. And even, you look at the play of Elgton Jenkins this past weekend. Not great. Not great. And when you look at, if you use Pro Football Focus grades, okay? If you use that as a gauge of how well some of the players did this week, well, offensively, it wasn't great on the offensive line. Bottom 5 offensive grades, according to Pro Football Focus, all offensive linemen. The worst was Rasheed Walker, your starting left tackle, 34.1. Then it was Jordan Morgan. Then it was Aaron Banks, Anthony Belton, and Elgton Jenkins. That essentially was your starting group. I know Aaron Banks left the game with an injury, but that's essentially your group. Collectively, they allowed 15 total pressures, all finished with a pass blocking grade under 40. That's inexcusable. Inexcusable, especially when you knew going in the quality of that defense. That's mind-boggling. For what it's worth, if anybody's wondering, the top 5 for offense was John Fitzpatrick at 76.9. Josh Jacobs, second, 73.4. Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden. Jordan Love finished with the 5th best offensive grade, but it was a 59. That just tells you. So 59. That tells you, that highlights the struggles that this offense had on Sunday. 59 is the 5th highest grade. Put that in perspective. The 5th lowest grade was a 44.6 by Elgton Jenkins. Bottom 5 defense, the 5th worst defensive grade was Carl Brooks at 60.7. That would have been enough for the 5th best offensive grade, for crying out loud. Yikes. For what it's worth, defensively, in the trenches, top 5 defensive grades for the Packers yesterday, or on Sunday. Enoch Barre had a 90.4 defensive end. Lucas Van Ness, 89.8 defensive end. Micah Parsons, 82.1 defensive end. Quay Walker, 81. Kobe Wooden, defensive lineman, 76.2. Of all the changes that football has undergone over 100 years of playing, whether it's been cycles of focusing on running the football or airing it out and it's become a passing league, it is still won in the trenches. It is still offensive line and defensive line play. We are seeing the difference from this Packers defensive group from a defensive line standpoint. The amount of pressure that they have been able to put on teams. How about this? This was from Zach Jacobson yesterday, and I had to save this. pressures through the first 3 weeks in 2024. Lucas Van Ness had 3. Rashawn Gary had 6. Pressures through the first 3 weeks this year. Lucas Van Ness, 11, 8 more than last year. Rashawn Gary, 13, 7 more than last year. Yes, having Micah Parsons helps with that, but that's also an example of what a player can do and how much a player can make a difference on the defensive line. Green Bay knew they had to get better at getting after the quarterback. They knew they had to get better at pressuring the quarterback. They knew that it's still up in the trenches, and they did that, and they upgraded, and it's had a trickle-down effect with everybody. Flipping it back to the offensive line, they got to figure it out. They got to start playing better. No more stupid penalties. A lot of it is they got to get healthier. They got to get healthier. Because if Jordan Love is going to be under duress throughout this whole season, that could really derail a season that has high expectations, high hopes, high goals. And let alone, I'd like to open up the running lane a little bit too. We do have an offensive line coach, B. It's Coach Butkus, Dick Butkus' nephew. He's been there for the last few years. So, also Jordan Love's number, Love thermometer number is at an 8. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Jordan Love. Where are you at on the Jordan Love thermometer? 0 to 10. I feel like the last 24 to 48 hours has been an interesting conversation about Jordan Love amongst some fans. Maybe it's the minority on social media that's being the loudest, but I want to chat a little bit about Jordan Love. All right, so a couple of texts or comments on the video stream here. Zach says, the false starts are not okay. Jordan Morgan had the most of them. That can't happen. And if it's happening in practice, why is it not getting fixed? That's my grind my gears. It is a Toys Ford grind my gears, and I think that's a good one. That just, yeah. And I guess a follow-up to me, to Matt LaFleur would have been, well, how long has it been happening in practice? Has this been going on since training camp, since preseason? Is it something that's just popped up here? That one, and as Joe said too, false start is BS. They know the count and can see the ball. I don't know if Love's got to go into a room with them and just work on hard counts and get them trained, or what the heck is going on. So, Love, talent is a 9, decision making is 3. Well, I got to give you an overall grade, Joe. You got to give me an overall grade. Can't break it up into 2. It's a Love thermometer. Gets pressure and he can make a good decision. Needs to be able to think faster on his feet. Don't just stand there. Use your feet. Need an overall grade. One number. All right. And I'm curious. I do want to get opinions from others who maybe are not on the Jordan Love bandwagon. Why is that? Maybe you don't have a high grade of love for Love. If not, tell me. I would say the average is probably about at a 7. It's probably at about a 7 from everybody who has chimed in so far. So Joe's got a 7 on there too. Okay. And right now, I'll be honest. When I thought about bringing this up, I thought the number would be a little bit lower. So maybe the talk that I'm seeing on social media about Love, and I know social media is a dark place a lot of times on X and Twitter and such, but there does seem to be, at least for those, some animosity, some not on the Jordan Love bandwagon. I think a lot of it is, one of the common gripes I've seen about Jordan Love is, while he's getting paid as a top quarterback and he's not performing like a top quarterback, at least in their opinion. And that to me, that kind of boggles my mind a little bit. I understand it, but I don't think you're looking at the deeper picture when it comes to that. First of all, it's what the market tells you. When it comes to free agency, it's what the market tells you. And Jordan Love was entering his second contract. I mean, you look at quarterback contracts throughout this league. As Justice Mesquada pointed out, there is no second contract. He tweeted this out. There is no second contract, quarterback contract, between $46 million and $7 million per year. The idea that you could sign a second contract quarterback for less than top of the market value is farce. Everyone is paying that money. That's what the market dictates. But I think we've got to remember when it comes to contracts, everybody's throwing out the average per year. You're seeing the number $55 million for Jordan Love. Don't pay attention to that number. Look at the cap hit for every single year. That's the number we should be focusing on when it comes to whether it's hindering your team or not. And when I was looking at quarterback cap hits for the next 3 seasons, Jordan Love isn't even in the top 10. This year, he's 13th. He's got the 13th highest cap hit at $29.7 million. Compare that to the highest is Dak Prescott at 50.5. So that's this year. Next year, 2026, he's still not even in the top 10. He's 14th. It goes up to 36, but compared to other quarterbacks across the league, 14th. 2027, his cap hit moves up to 11, still outside the top 10. Kirk Cousins has higher cap hits than him. Tua has higher cap hits than him. Dak still has higher caps than him. His cap hit explodes in 2028 to the second highest cap hit out there, which also means what? It's probably going to be time for a restructure at that point in time. So I don't buy the whole, well, you know, he's getting paid $55 million with this whole reason why Love isn't, you know, a top quarterback because he's not playing to a $55 million level. That does, I don't buy that argument. I don't. He got paid with what the market dictates. It's as simple as that. And you don't pay attention to the average per year, the $55 million per year. You pay attention to what is the cap hit. And right now, for the next 3 seasons, Jordan Love is outside the top 10. So he's not getting paid, cap hit-wise, as a top 5 quarterback. And to me, it feels like when Jordan Love has good games, really good games, there really isn't a whole lot of praise. There really isn't a whole lot of love. But when he has one bad game, and it was a bad game. It was a bad game on Sunday. Poor decision-making, stupid throw for that interception. There's games where it seems like he has a couple of those. But I don't think you can base it fully on it. It feels like when he does have that bad game, that's when the hate explodes. And again, I know I did this last week, but you look at a lot of the numbers, and Jordan Love was off to a good start, and you compare it to a lot of other numbers there. I think people I don't know if they want to ignore it. They just have this preconceived mindset about Jordan Love. They have the high expectations of an Aaron Rodgers, like Seabaum was saying a little bit earlier, when he was calling out people for not liking or appreciating Jordan Love. But you look at a lot of the deeper comparisons and rankings and numbers to other really good quarterbacks in the league, and Jordan Love's in there with a lot of them. So I guess I'm with the clear majority right now, which I'm a little surprised at, but I'm pleasantly surprised at, with a clear majority who are at about a 7, between a 7 and an 8 for the Love thermometer. I'm with you guys. And I was one who did not like the pick. I hated the pick. I'm glad I was wrong. Now, I know he's got a long career ahead of us. A lot of stuff could change. But right now, if I'm going back to when that selection was made in 2020 to what we have seen so far, Love has so far surpassed my expectations or my thoughts on what he could be as a quarterback. We have been spoiled for really good quarterback play over the years with Favre and Rodgers. I mean, I don't need to rehash all that crap. And it was an incredibly high bar that Rodgers sets, from taking care of the football, throwing the ball. I mean, maybe one of the best, if not the best, thrower of the football in the history of this league. So even just a little bit underneath of a performance of an Aaron Rodgers, it's probably like, oh, yep, that guy's not as good. Jordan Love probably won't ever be as good as Aaron Rodgers. And not too often do you see a guy who replaces a Hall of Famer that's better than that Hall of Famer. I know not everybody agrees with that with Favre and Rodgers. It's a debate that'll go through the end of our lives, and it's fine. It's a fun debate to have. It's a good one to have, that we had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back like we did. I don't know if Love is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know. That'd be awesome. I think we'd all love that. But it's just kind of weird at times to see, I don't know, a fan base be not as supportive as for their quarterback when he does have good games, but they're really loud when he doesn't have good games, and I'm kind of confused on that. And I don't like the narrative of the clutch gene. If you're using that game from yesterday for a narrative of a clutch gene, I will raise you last year's Houston game, leading the team down for a game-winning field goal. I will raise you the Saints game in his first year down, what was it, 17 or 14 in the fourth, and they won. If you're going to use that game against Cleveland for a clutch gene, I'll raise you a couple more. And as Seabaum noted a little bit earlier, he did lead them down to field goal range. I get it. We overreact to single games, to one game. It's sports. It's always going to be that way. Chris says, Jordan Love, thermometer 5. I believe he is just an average mid-tier quarterback. He is a yes man and does whatever Matt LaFleur tells him to. I don't see him putting the team on his back and carrying us to victory. I actually don't even know if he's had a come-from-behind win. Well, I just gave you a couple right off the top of my head. Can average take us to the promised land? Yes, but there has to be a well-oiled machine in all other areas like special teams and defense. A couple more texter or comments on here. James says, I was about to enter 7 as well. We can't tank his rating because of a really ugly game. My gut tells me if the field goal isn't blocked and the Packers win, there would still be Love criticism, but not nearly as harsh as what is going on. I would agree with you. I'd agree with you, James. Zach says you can't put it all on him, even though he did make some pretty dang mistakes. Zach says, I said earlier between 7 and 8, but I think I'm closer to an 8. So, John says, good morning, Dan. I'm at a 7 with Jordan Love. I believe there's a lot of potential that is still yet to be unlocked. Yes, he does make mistakes, but people put Jordan Love on a pedestal right next to Aaron Rodgers and try and compare him to Aaron Rodgers, which is not fair to Jordan Love. Keep these coming. Where are you at on that Love thermometer? I'm going to post up a graphic, and maybe we have to do this as a weekly bit or something.